The arena fell silent. 80,000 voices stopped mid-song. Michael Jackson dropped the microphone, walked off stage, and looked into one man's eyes. What he said next would bring that bodyguard to his knees and leave millions in tears. The man standing there was Bill Whitfield, a 6'3" wall of muscle who had protected Michael Jackson for years. He had seen everything, stopped every threat, stood between the king of pop and chaos itself. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for what was about to happen that night. It started with a sound no one in that stadium expected to hear: silence. June 2009. London's O2 Arena. The "This Is It" tour rehearsals were in full swing. Michael Jackson was preparing for what everyone believed would be his greatest comeback. 50 sold-out shows. Millions of fans waiting. The world holding its breath. Bill Whitfield stood backstage, eyes scanning the crowd as he always did. His job was simple: protect Michael at all costs. For 3 years he had been more than a bodyguard. He had been a silent witness to the man behind the legend, the human being behind the icon. Michael took the stage that night for a private rehearsal. Only crew members, close friends, and a handful of journalists were present. The energy was different. Bill noticed it immediately. Michael's movements were slower, more deliberate. His voice, usually so powerful it could shake walls, carried a weight that went beyond music. The performance began. "Heal the World" filled the arena. Michael's voice soared through the opening verses, and for a moment, everything seemed perfect. The choreography was flawless, the lighting spectacular, the audience mesmerized. But then something happened. Michael Jackson stopped singing mid-verse. The music continued, but his voice cut off as if someone had unplugged his soul. He stood frozen at center stage, one hand gripping the microphone stand, the other pressed against his chest. The band noticed first. Then the dancers. Then everyone in that arena realized something was terribly wrong. Bill's training kicked in instantly. His hand moved to his earpiece, ready to call for medical assistance, ready to storm the stage if needed. But before he could move, Michael did something that froze everyone in place. He looked directly at Bill. Not a glance, not a casual look, but a stare that seemed to pierce through everything, through the lights, through the crowd, through 3 years of silent understanding. And then Michael Jackson walked off the stage. Not ran. Not stumbled. Walked. With purpose. With a determination that made every person in that room hold their breath. The technical crew panicked. The director started shouting into his headset. Dancers stood motionless, unsure whether to continue or stop. But Michael ignored all of it. He walked straight toward Bill Whitfield, who stood at the side stage entrance. Bill had protected Michael from paparazzi, from overzealous fans, from people who wanted pieces of him like he was something to be divided and consumed. But he had never seen this look in Michael's eyes. It wasn't fear. It wasn't pain. It was something deeper, something that transcended words. Michael reached Bill and stopped inches away from him. Close enough that Bill could see the exhaustion etched into Michael's face, the weight of decades carried in eyes that had witnessed more than most people could imagine. "Bill," Michael said, his voice barely above a whisper, yet somehow cutting through the confused murmurs filling the arena. Bill straightened, every muscle tense, ready for whatever Michael needed. "I'm here, Michael. What do you need?" Michael's hand reached up, and he did something he had never done before. He placed his hand on Bill's shoulder, not as a celebrity acknowledging an employee, but as one human being reaching out to another. "I need you to promise me something," Michael said, and his voice cracked in a way that made Bill's throat tighten. But what came next was something Bill Whitfield would never forget for the rest of his life. Michael's eyes filled with tears, actual tears that began rolling down his face, cutting through makeup, through the carefully constructed image of perfection. "When I'm gone," Michael said, and those 3 words hit Bill like a physical blow. "Don't say that," Bill interrupted, his voice rougher than intended. "You're not going anywhere." Michael smiled, but it was the saddest smile Bill had ever seen. "We both know that's not true. And that's okay. I've made peace with it. He paused, his hand still on Bill's shoulder, fingers gripping tighter. "But I need you to do something for me. Something more important than anything you've ever done." Bill felt his eyes burning. This wasn't supposed to happen. Bodyguards didn't cry. Bodyguards didn't break. But he was breaking, right there, in front of 80,000 people who couldn't hear this conversation but could feel its weight. "Tell them," Michael said, his voice gaining strength. "Tell them that all I ever wanted was for people to feel loved. Not famous. Not rich. Not powerful. Just loved. Tell them that every song, every dance, every moment on that stage was my way of saying, you matter. You're not alone. You're worthy of love." The words crashed over Bill like a wave. 3 years of silent protection, of standing in shadows while Michael lived in light, of watching this man give everything to everyone, crystallized in that single moment. "Michael, Bill's voice failed him. "Promise me," Michael insisted, and now both his hands were on Bill's shoulders, holding on like Bill was the only thing keeping him anchored to this world. "Promise me you'll tell them that I loved them. All of them. The ones who supported me, the ones who doubted me, the ones who hurt me. Because love doesn't discriminate. Love doesn't judge. Love just is." Bill Whitfield, 6'3", trained in combat, capable of taking down threats twice his size, felt his knees weaken. He wanted to stay strong, to be the professional he had always been, but something in Michael's eyes shattered every wall he had built. "I promise," Bill said, and his voice broke completely. "I promise I'll tell them." Michael nodded, tears flowing freely now, and then he did something that would haunt Bill forever in the most beautiful way possible. He pulled Bill into an embrace. Not a celebrity hug. Not a polite gesture. A real embrace, the kind that says, "I see you, I value you, you matter to me." The arena watched in stunned silence. Crew members lowered their equipment. The director stopped giving orders. Everyone present understood they were witnessing something sacred, something that transcended performance and entered the realm of pure humanity. If you're watching this and you've ever felt alone, if you've ever questioned whether your life matters, subscribe now and leave a comment. Because what happens next will change how you see everything. Michael stepped back, wiping his eyes, and for a moment Bill saw beyond the king of pop, beyond the legend, beyond the icon. He saw Michael Joseph Jackson, a man who had given everything, who had sacrificed his privacy, his childhood, his peace, all for the chance to make people feel something real. "One more thing," Michael said, pulling something from his pocket. It was a white glove, not the sequined stage version, but a simple white glove, worn from use, marked with years of performances. He pressed it into Bill's hand. "Keep this. Remember that beneath all the spectacle, all the fame, all the noise, there was just a man who wanted to heal the world with love." Bill closed his fingers around the glove, feeling its texture, its warmth from Michael's hand. He wanted to say something profound, something that would match the magnitude of this moment, but all he could manage was, "Thank you for trusting me." Michael smiled again, and this time it reached his eyes. "You've protected my body for 3 years. But tonight you're protecting my message. That's a greater responsibility than you know." He turned back toward the stage, straightened his jacket, wiped his face, and transformed. In seconds, Michael Jackson the human became Michael Jackson the performer. He walked back onto that stage, picked up the microphone, and finished. Heal the world. With a power that brought the entire arena to tears. But Bill couldn't move. He stood there, white glove clutched in his hand, Michael's words echoing in his mind, tears streaming down his face without shame, without caring who saw. Because he had just been given the most important mission of his life, to tell the world that Michael Jackson's greatest performance wasn't on any stage. It was in the simple act of loving without condition. The rehearsal ended. Michael took his bow. The crew applauded. Everything returned to normal, except Bill Whitfield knew nothing would ever be normal again. 3 weeks later, Michael Jackson was gone. The world mourned. Millions cried. Conspiracy theories spread. But Bill Whitfield carried a truth that transcended all the noise. Michael's final message wasn't about music, or dance, or fame. It was about love, pure and simple. In the months that followed, Bill kept his promise. He told Michael's story at memorials, in interviews, in quiet conversations with fans who needed to hear it. He showed them the white glove, explained what it meant, shared Michael's words exactly as they had been spoken. And every time he told the story, something remarkable happened. People who had never met Michael Jackson felt connected to him. People who had judged him reconsidered. People who felt alone realized they weren't. Because Michael's message, delivered through Bill's promise, transcended death itself. The white glove sits in a display case now, in a small memorial Bill created. It's not in a museum. It's not sold to the highest bidder. It remains where Michael wanted it, with someone who understood that its value wasn't in money, but in meaning. Years passed, and Bill carried that glove with him to every interview, every memorial service, every moment when Michael's name was mentioned. He would hold it up to the light, and people would see the worn fabric, the slight discoloration from countless performances, the humanity embedded in every thread. One particular moment stood out among all others. A young mother approached Bill at a memorial event, her eyes red from crying. She held a photo of her son, a boy no more than 8 years old, who had died from leukemia. Michael's music was the only thing that made him smile during chemotherapy, she said, her voice breaking. He died listening to Heal the World. He said it made the pain go away. Bill showed her the glove. He told her Michael's words, exactly as they had been spoken. He explained that Michael's greatest fear wasn't death, but that people would forget his message was always about love, not spectacle. The mother touched the glove with trembling fingers, and something shifted in her face. The grief didn't disappear, but it transformed. She understood that her son's connection to Michael wasn't about celebrity worship. It was about two souls recognizing each other across impossible distances, about music being the language when words failed, about love being the medicine when medicine failed. That's when Bill truly understood the weight of Michael's final request. It wasn't just about telling people Michael loved them. It was about showing them that love creates connections that transcend life and death, that art isn't just entertainment, but a lifeline thrown across the darkness. Bill began traveling to children's hospitals, to hospices, to places where people needed Michael's message most. He would tell the story, show the glove, and watch as something miraculous happened. People who felt forgotten remembered they mattered. People who felt alone realized they were connected to something larger. People who had given up found reasons to hold on. The glove became more than a relic. It became a symbol of what Michael had always believed, that one person's love, expressed genuinely, can ripple out and touch millions. That fame without heart is empty, but heart without fame still changes the world. Share this story if you believe love is more powerful than fame. Subscribe if you understand that sometimes the greatest moments happen off stage. Comment and tell us, what would you say if you had one final moment with someone you loved? Michael Jackson's final words to his bodyguard weren't about protecting him from danger. They were about protecting his legacy, his message, his heart. And Bill Whitfield has spent every day since ensuring that message reaches everyone who needs to hear it. Because that's what love does. It doesn't die. It doesn't fade. It transforms into something stronger, carried by those who promise to never forget, to never stop sharing, to never let the light go out. The king of pop is gone, but his kingdom of love remains, guarded not by security, but by truth, kept alive not by fans, but by human beings who understand that beneath every legend is a person, and beneath every person is a capacity for love that can change the world.